Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to our 2015 Draft Analysis Live during the draft. I'm really excited because we've never done this before, so we're going to have to find out how this is going to work with the balls coming out and how we're going to talk about it. But we got some ideas for you, and to help me with that, I want to bring on Randy Sherman, who is our resident college expert over at BBallBreakdown.com. Randy, thanks for joining us. How's it going today?
Going great. Looking forward to seeing how this all shakes out and you know, kind of you and I discussing who would be the best fit on what team.
Well, we can right now talk about what kind of suits Jay Bilas is wearing right now, because that's what we're looking at here on the screen. But certainly, what are we looking at here as far as this breakdown goes? I have an order of, like, as far as the percentages go. What are we looking at here? Who do you think is going to end up going first?
You know, I really think a lot of that could end up on who actually gets the #1 overall pick. But I think it's, you know, either going to be Karl Anthony Towns of Kentucky or Jahlil Okafor of Duke. I think pretty much one of those two guys is almost a lock to go first overall. You know, whomever wins the lottery and the offensive system and defensive system they run might impact that one way or the other, but one of those two guys for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, certainly, you know, if you're talking about, you know, talent and the ability and what translates to the NBA, those two guys are it. We were talking a little bit earlier about the notion of big men being busts in the NBA and how often these guys are surefire and yet they don't make it.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these guys grow up their whole NBA or their whole basketball career being the most physically dominant guy on the court in their area, in their city, in their neighborhood, in their league. And then when they get to college, you know, they face a little bit better competition. But no, it's not until they get to the NBA that they really have to put their skills to the test against grown men. You know. Absolutely.
Well, here comes the balls. This is very exciting.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is, maybe I should share this for a second so people can see this with us. Let's see here. I won't be completely smooth, but you never know. Let's see here. Where is that screen? So here you go. You're getting a glimpse into what it looks like on ESPN right now with the draft lottery. I think I turned the sound down, so if I turn it up a little bit, you can hear it. But here's how it breaks down. You can see Minnesota with a 25% chance, and they set up their season to get the biggest chance of getting that pick. So, I think that was a little bit of a little tease there. They're actually not going to pull that ball yet, but. So yeah. We have those two big men. It doesn't seem like, you know, short of any kind of injury issue, that either of these guys are going to go wrong, right?
No, I think I don't think so. I think both of these guys are going to be solid players. The kind of guy that a franchise can, you know, hang their hat on and build around. Maybe not exactly to that caliber, like a franchise-changing player, like a Shaquille O'Neal or somebody like that is, you know, you get this guy and you go from being bad to good overnight. I don't see that from either of these guys, but both can be good players. Towns probably a little bit more versatile, inside outside ability, probably a better top end athlete, much better on the defensive end. Okafor being you know, his game sort of reminds me of a cross between Tim Duncan and Chris Webber. Kind of a good passer, has a good one-hand game, kind of uses the glass well, good feet. You know, I would make those kind of comparisons. Where he has struggled has been out playing perimeter defense and pick and rolls in the college game. So that'll be an adjustment because he's going to have to do that a lot more.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to – what we're seeing a lot of now, especially as the analytics come out, is that they are now able to target whom they want in the pick-and-roll defense. And certainly the good teams are doing that. And we're going to see that, I'm sure, in the conference finals as we go further, how they just pick on you like a bad scab until you bleed with that pick-and-roll defense. And so they're absolutely – he'll have to manage that. Now, he does have the Okafor has the advantage, I suppose, of Coach K, who got a lot of exposure to Coach Thibodeau's ice defense in the pick and roll. So I can imagine that it won't be foreign to him when he goes to whatever team. The question now is I didn't see much of that from the Wolves or the Knicks playing that kind of defense. So we'll see if they're going to have him high hedge. or if he can handle either both dropping down or hedging.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, I watched tons of Duke game, and then I record them and rewatch them and just look at them really closely often, and his just lateral movement is not where it needs to be to really contain the basketball.
Yeah, I felt like there were times I watched like 3 or 4 of his games, and he did seem like he spent a little bit too much time on the ground. His footwork, I know everyone likes his footwork, but I felt like there was a balance thing there where he was getting in weird positions where he'd end up on his butt. And it could just very well be anecdotal and random from what I saw, but it just caught my eye a little bit.
Yeah, as far as his post play and the technicality of his post move footwork, it's pretty good. He's one of the better college guys that's came through in that regard in a while. I call it his one hand game. He does a lot of. He's got a pretty good one hand game where he puts the ball in one hand and is able to kind of move it around and create separation and use leverage and angles off the glass and things like that. It's pretty unique for what we've seen come through in the college game in the past several years.
Talk about some of the other players that you feel like are going to be in that top 5. Oh, and by the way, I apologize. I'm not supposed to do that. Talk about question.
I won't.
So
I won't.
Who do you think?
I won't be like Popovich. Don't worry.
All right, good. So who else do you think would make in that top 5 pick from in the U.S. NCAA pool?
There's a guard out of Ohio State named D'Angelo Russell. That was a freshman for Ohio State this year, and really, really, really sensational player. Left-handed guard, probably the best guard in the country at using the pick and roll this year. Just made some spectacular passes, and just has great court vision. Can also shoot it. I think he'll be the first guard off the board for sure.
I believe I read today where he was favorably comparing himself, at least in style, to Steph Curry. Do you see that kind of shooting touch off the bounce like Steph?
I've never seen that really, but yeah, a little bit. I don't know if I would go that far, but I like his confidence.
Okay. All right, that's good. That's certainly you need to have that as well. I swear I read that, something like that, but maybe he just meant in sort of the way he throws those. He is a good passer out of the pick and roll. Is that right?
Very good, very good.
So he could be referring to those left-handed hook passes across court to the corner, which interestingly enough, we haven't seen much from Curry. He's been a little bit conservative, I think, in the playoffs with his playmaking, which I suppose why risk when you're in a higher stakes play. Which actually that kind of came up. We can talk about that for a second. Some of the stats guys have the theory that no game is different than any other game in a 7-game series. Either a bucket in the first quarter of game 1 is equally valuable and maybe is equally expected to be made or missed as it would be in the fourth quarter of a game 7. Do you have any thoughts on that?
In theory and on paper, and I get what they're saying. That the absolute value of a win is 1. The absolute value of a basket in game 1 is 2 points or 3 points, or But having coached the game and played the game, it's an intangible. But I don't know that I would say that the stakes aren't higher in a game 7. They've got to be, right?
I mean, we've all played at some level, some sort of single elimination tournament, I'd imagine.
Sure.
Whether it's high school, or whatever it is. And, without a doubt, it is completely different. And, in fact, when it came up when they wanted Josh Smith to take threes, in the game 7, it's like you can't give him anything in a game 7. Who knows what's going to happen? Prigioni could get steals and set guys up like you never know, all because you're trying to let them have an easier time. When I always felt like the margin is a lot thinner. I had a high school coach who used to say anybody can make it in the first half. And I completely believe that. I think a 3-point shot taken when you're up by 12 is a whole lot different than a 3-point shot taken when you're down by 3 with 10 seconds to go.
Yeah, you're talking about kind of intangibles, emotion, pressure, things like that aren't able to be analyzed and metriced and the analytics guys maybe don't see things that way.
Yes, you can say that again.
Yeah.
And I like the notion of that. And it seems like it might take some pressure off a player if he would embrace it that way. But there's no question. Having my limited experience in a couple of those single elimination games at the high school level, when I played at least, and I've coached in them too.
Sure.
The ball is heavier. Your hands don't move the way you want them to. You don't feel like you're touching the court. In a way. And by the way, that's how it feels the first time you do it. And I'm sure after enough time, enough experience, it does. You do get more comfortable. So a guy like Prigioni probably didn't feel that different because he played in the Euros. And I'm sure that pressure, it might be even more with the weight of the country, the weight of the nation on your back, than it would be even for an NBA team.
Well, I've also, and you've probably experienced too, that in an elimination game and tournament play or something like that, especially down the stretch, there are players who don't want the basketball. They hide from it. They don't want it. And the coach, knows who those guys are, and knows that if we're going to win, it's got to be in this guy's hand, and that may not be the star of the team. The guy who, I remember during the Mavericks run in 2011. I'm a Mavericks fan living here in Dallas. I love the way Jason Terry made clutch shots. He wanted the basketball, and Dirk is the star of the Mavs, but Jason Terry was making big shots, and I felt real comfortable with him having the ball.
Oh, you forgot J.J. Barea was also playing extremely well.
And I thought that series swung in 2011 when Carlisle played Kidd and Barea at the same time a lot.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit more about. We talked about 3 of the players that we think are going to probably go in the top, 5 or 6 or whatever it is. Any other players that come to mind that you think that jumped out at you from the college ranks that have a shot at getting picked at the very top?
Not exactly from the college ranks, this guy, but there's a player named Emmanuel Mudiay that he actually went to a high school here in Dallas, and he originally committed to SMU to play for Larry Brown, but that didn't work out for him. He ended up playing his 1 year due to the age restrictions in China, and he played in China this year, and he's probably him or D'Angelo Russell will be the top guard off the board.
Okay, so D'Angelo Russell and Mudiay. It's funny because he's working out here in LA, and I feel like I got to go track him down and try and see what I can see because sometimes those are open, or I can weasel my way in. But I haven't seen it. Now, did he do well in China?
Yeah, by all accounts that I saw, he did well. I know quite a bit about a lot of the guys that I'm coaching colleagues around here in the Dallas area have raved about him for years, and I know when he was committed and looked like he was on his way to SMU, they went from being kind of in the preseason top 25 to 30 range to a lot of people had him in the top 10 range, and then when it worked out, I don't know if it was an academic issue with him not being able to go to SMU or what happened there, but they went from being looked upon as a top 10 type college team to back down to like a 25 through 30 ranked team. So he's definitely a difference maker.
Speaking of which, since you're in the area down by SMU with Coach Larry Brown, how has he done down there? Has he been able to recreate what he's been doing in the NBA?
He's doing a fabulous job. Not only is their play improved, they were in the tournament this year. They got beat by UCLA on what was, I won't even use the word controversial goaltending call. It was a bad goaltending call that cost them a game in the NCAA tournament. But what he's done is kind of he's found guys that are potential pros that are playing there for SMU and Dallas, and he's also done a lot better job of some of the top talent here in the Dallas area, getting them in there into SMU, and it's created a lot of excitement. They don't have a big basketball arena, It's sort of, probably in the 7,000-8,000 seat range, but they sell it out. You literally cannot get a ticket to go watch and play. Some of the local Dallas celebrities like Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, and Jason Garrett, and people like that that's kind of the place to be seen. They've been on the sidelines and been at those games, and he's just done a good job creating the excitement. He's got a guard named Nick Young that's a really, really nice college player. He's done a great job.
Wow, Nick Young is a good name to have, I suppose, if you want to make the NBA.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to stay in the NBA with that name, but he's been Nick Young has had a 10 or 11-year career so far, and will have at least a few more. So you can't fault him for that. I'm almost thinking maybe we could turn it over to Twitter to see if people have some questions for us while we're waiting. It's hard to believe that we're still in the moment where 15 minutes in, they haven't even pulled the ball, right? You haven't seen anything, have you?
No, sir. I think they're still hyping it up.
All right. Well, let's. I'll throw it to Twitter real quick and see. If anybody has any questions, and maybe they're watching us live with a whole bunch of people are watching us right now. So tweet us here, and we'll answer them live right now. All righty, let's see what we got here. Because no one's even tweeted us yet, but oh, here we go. Here's a good question. Let me share the screen real quick. Although I got to keep my eye because I feel like as soon as we do that, they're going to jump on us with the.
I've got my eye on it. They're showing the percentage chances again.
All right. Well, here we go. Here is some questions here. Let me get this a little bit bigger so we can read it better. We have Brian London asks, you think the Sixers would trade pick number 6 for Batum and pick 23 if they get the Lakers pick? Well, I guess we're going to have to find out where the Lakers pick is. But that's I see how that works. Oh, here we go. We get the first one. Well, you know what? Let's stop sharing this. And wait, what was that? Number 14. That scared me. I thought that was the first pick. All right. The Thunder get number 14. The Suns get number 13. You know what? Maybe I should share this real quick. What do you think about that, Randy?
Yeah, let's let them. They're going to reel them off pretty fast here, so let's let them do that, and then we'll recap.
All right, can you hear? Can you hear this?
Yes, sir.
This will be the Pacers' first line.
All right, so you can hear the TV right now, right?
Definitely.
All right, hopefully we won't get too much trouble for airing this right now. Wow. The Heat.
So the Heat keep their pick. If it had fallen outside the top 10, it would have.
I might just do this real quick. Okay, so we have the Thunder, the Suns, the Jazz, the Pacers, the Heat, the Hornets. I think this is kind of going according to plan. I got to look at the
going in pretty close to lockstep with the odds, really.
Yeah. Well, the Pistons get 8. The Pistons are going to get good. They have a lot of young talent already. And adding that another high pick should make them even that much better.
The 7th pick will be made by.
Or use it with Greg Monroe or something.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Monroe is unrestricted, I think, right? I guess they could try sign and trade, but it never happens anymore. All right, maybe for the last 5, we'll throw this up here. Oh, the Kings got number 6.
2016. Pick number 5 goes to the Orlando Magic. This will be the Magic's 5th round pick since 2012. And the 4th pick in the,
all right, the Lakers made it.
NBA draft goes to the New York.
Oh, wow. So they missed out. That's amazing. They should have been 2nd.
Yeah, they.
The top 3.
Uh-oh. Hashtag conspiracy.
Yep.
There were 3. The Los Angeles Lakers, the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, they're not going to go to commercial, are they?
Probably so.
Wow. Okay, good for them. By the way, if you want to learn how to properly, tease things, ESPN's doing it quite well. They had the oh my goodness, the announcement, which is not what they called it, the LeBron thing.
The decision.
The decision, thank you. But you can tell how deep I am into film footage where I can't even process vocabulary I need. But, okay, so there you go with the decision. Now they're really going to drag this out, probably right up until game time so they can get everyone right over to the game. Is the game? Yeah, the game's on ESPN, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let's go over that what we have so far. So basically, who's available left? It's the Lakers, Minnesota, and Philly.
That's right.
So right now, if you had to pick, Minnesota obviously is even more favored now, I guess, because the Knicks had dropped down. And then you'd have to imagine, Philly and the Lakers. Now, I think they were pretty close. Let me check the odds here. I know I had it up here before. Where did it go? Okay, so the Knicks had a 19.9% chance of getting the second seed, and they missed it, dropped down to fourth. So the Lakers were the ones who bumped up and got that. So right now, the Minnesota Timberwolves have a 25% chance. The Sixers have a 15.6% chance, and the Lakers are 11.9. I mean, I would be surprised if it didn't play out in that order, right?
Yeah, you gotta play the odds right now. Minnesota's got to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah. So looking at their roster, I mean, they have Pekovic there already. I have to imagine they're going to feel that either Towns or Okafor would be an upgrade.
I feel like Towns would make them immediately better. I know they have Wiggins, was a very good rookie this year, coming out of Kansas, and I really think it'd be Towns if it ends up with Minnesota.
So they have Rubio, they have Wiggins, so their backcourt is pretty much set, or whatever they want to call Wiggins as a small forward or shooting guard.
Right.
Can Towns catch passes from Rubio the kind of that he throws?
Without a doubt. I mean, he played with some terrific guards this year at Kentucky. There's just a lot he can do, and I don't think we've seen all he can do yet. With Kentucky's platoon system and sharing the minutes and things like that. I really think there's things that we haven't seen in his game yet.
Well, let's move on to some questions while we're here. So we have Dargle Ball asks, what team should trade their pick to get a developed player? Wow. Well, I don't think that either of these teams, it's actually interesting. The Lakers, in theory, right, could be primed to take a pick if they get the third, maybe, and trade it for a developed player. What would you think, Randy?
I really think they might be in the market to move up if they could.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they don't really do that, although they were able to keep Randall, and they like him, and they're developing him. So I would have to say the Lakers might be the most obvious choice there. I don't think – I mean, who knows what Philly's going to do. But I would imagine if they get the guy they want, if it's a second pick, they wouldn't trade it. They've now brought us back. So let's go back to our screen share and see what we have here.
The last time they had the number one pick was 1982 when he took
Let's see here.
his teammate James Worthy, the 76ers. Last time they had the number one
Hey, there's Nerlens Noel.
In 1996.
He's representing Philly, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think he didn't make first team all rookie. Do you know what team he made for all rookie?
I do not.
I got to check on that.
Final three picks. Here's NBA Deputy Commissioner Mark Taylor.
Okay, here we go.
Thanks again, Mark. The third pick in this year's draft goes to the Philadelphia.
Oh my God! What if the Lakers get the first pick? Okay, at least that. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
So the Timberwolves made it. Okay, congratulations to them. We'll mute this. We got about 7 minutes until game time. So, okay, so here we are. Towns or Okafor, they both seem to fit. Let's actually go through. I have some nice, cool graphics here. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, you can see they struggled across the board here. Although you notice they did post up third most often, and they were average at that. I better move out of the way so the text is now running. So, Randy, what do you think about that? You think it's, I guess either way, Towns or Okafor are both going to shore up those issues they have?
I think I think they got to go with Towns. They've got an athletic lineup, an athletic young lineup there. They need more two-way players.
Yeah.
Towns to me is answers that on both ends. I think he can do a good job in rim protection. He can also help you on the post-ups you mentioned. I think with them getting number one, I got to believe it's Towns.
Yeah, and now we have to imagine that Pekovic would be on the trading block. We got to check to make sure he's still under contract and not a free agent. And then of course you're thinking, well, what team would need a center coming off the bench that'd be really viable? And then you think about someone like the Clippers. But I don't even know if that works that well. Although some nightmare scenario in my mind is that DeAndre Jordan doesn't like CP3 and he walks to Dallas maybe. Doesn't really walk to Dallas, but he goes to Dallas, and they bring in like Pekovic to replace him. That would be a real interesting year next year. Let's move on to the Sixers and see how they stack up, because they got the number 2 pick, which I'm sure they're happy with.
They got 3, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry, they got 3. Excuse me, that's to the Lakers. You're right. All right, the Lakers. That's okay. It was an excuse to do some fancy screen stats. So the Lakers were surprising to me in transition. They were 6th overall, which is pretty amazing, because their young players got out of control and they would throw the ball away and look kind of messy. But especially with a team like Byron Scott, who at first glance, he didn't want to shoot threes. It kind of felt like he didn't want to run either, even though he's from the Showtime era. So what are we thinking here? They're not going to take Okafor with Randall already there, are they?
I think they will. Okafor is a 5-man, a true textbook out of the old school playbook center. I could see Okafor and Randall being a pretty nice front court.
Okay, so a really athletic version of the Grizzlies.
Okay, yeah.
Because not too many teams. Well, there's some that have like a traditional center, traditional power forward. Like the Bulls, I suppose. But I mean, if you were to compare this duo to the Bulls or the Grizzlies, it's like these two guys are going to run circles around Noah and Gasol and the other Gasol and Zebo, right?
Yeah, better athletes. Athletes.
Interesting. And so you can see that the isolation was their 4th most or their 3rd most. I'm missing a category in there, but I think spot up is in there. But you can see that even in the pick and roll, the ball handler with Jordan Clarkson is terrific. And we can imagine that with some better talent in that pick and roll for him, they do a lot better. They fill it in. I don't know. Do the Lakers threaten to make the playoffs next year?
They've got a long road to hoe in the West for sure. A lot of ground to make up. One variable with them often is free agency. It's a desirable place for players to go, and if they can work around Kobe's contract and get somebody in there that that can help them, then yeah, possibly. But they can land a free agent splash to go with the kind of young front court that they can build having the number 2 pick.
Yeah, there definitely would have to be some luck involved. I mean, if they could sign some guy that really explodes that we didn't think about and that develop that. I kind of like where they're going. I wish they would just sort of let Clarkson run the show, not bring in a guy like Dragic or Rondo. I really hope it doesn't happen, because I feel like that's just put your finger in the dike for a little while where you can really get some development. I think Clarkson can make another jump, and then they'd have that really nice nucleus, and Kobe retires, and then boom, they're on their way. Let's look at the 3rd pick, which was Philly, and so that's got to be a bit of a disappointment, to the point where we'll see if they're going to, I guess, keep it. You never know. Interesting thing here was they're above average on defense, and that's obviously a testament to they had KJ McDaniels, who was doing nicely down there, and they got rid of him, and then Nerlens Noel was doing very nicely towards the end across the board with rim protection and stuff. So, what do we see here? Do we see one of those wings that we were talking about going here?
Yeah, I think I got to. My answer would start with a question: Who's running their point guard position for Philadelphia?
Well, is it Ish Smith? Or is it going to be? I don't know. He did play well toward the end of the year, so that's going to be an interesting battle at that position. So you're right. That's going to be an interesting thing of how they're going to make that work.
I think they can upgrade that spot with either D'Angelo Russell or Emmanuel Mudiay. And that's it. It's hard to predict what Philadelphia is going to do with their picks and their drafts and the players. They kind of have a little bit of a different plan. But I think one of those 2 point guards will go there, and they'll upgrade that spot.
Now, are those guys better than Michael Carter-Williams?
Yes. D'Angelo Russell is very, very. I would call him pro ready. I could see him playing in a pro game tomorrow night.
Okay.
Mudiay is a very explosive athlete. Some are comparing him to what Russell Westbrook. He has that kind of end-to-end aggressive, take the ball to the paint, off the outlet pass mentality that Russell Westbrook has. And I could see either one of those guys, really upgrading their point guard spot.
Well, fantastic stuff. I think we came to some realizations and solutions here for some teams, maybe. We'll have to find out what happens with these picks and if they keep them or who they pick with them. But terrific show. Randy, great stuff. We'll have to have you on again when we want to break down the actual draft. And, you know, don't forget to follow Randy at Sherm Sports and on Twitter. And also anything he writes on our website, for sure you want to check it out because he does some wonderful breakdowns in the written form of the college game. So thanks for joining us, sports fans. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Randy?
Definitely in. All in.